It is Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, coming to you from our homes on this fine Thursday afternoon. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports. So stick around. It's going to be fun. We're going to have fun. Hope you do too. Wade, how's your Thursday?
Man, Thursday is great. Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody. We are off and running. We are smack dab in the middle of March Madness. Big show on tap. I mean, what more could you ask for, right?
Yeah, it's a huge show. It is. We are kind of making up for some lost time in a couple of different areas. But in the second hour, we will be joined by our typical Tuesday guest, the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, ahead of what is a huge night for basketball, both men's and women's, for Middle Tennessee State. We will get into that with Chip, and they have got some award winners that they're going to war with tonight. Actually, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get him on as well. But we've got Chip at the top of the second hour. In our next segment, we will be joined by Cheatham County girls basketball coach Jim GIBBS on Coach's Corner, as the Lady Cubs are heading into sectional play Saturday night following their Region 6 2A championship win last night. So we're going to catch up with Coach GIBBS and his streaking Lady Cubs. They've got a double-digit streak going. Don't tell the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they've got company. So we'll talk a little bit more to him in the next segment. We will also be giving out our weekly awards during that segment, so looking forward to that. Additionally, we'll talk a little college hoops. We'll talk a little pro football, a little baseball. Well, again, we just got it all going on here. It is that time of year. It is March Madness, and there's a bunch of stuff happening. We're going to get to all of it. Again, it is Throwback Thursday as well, and in the second hour, we will be throwing it back to a recent conversation that we had with Emily CROWELL of the TSSAA talking girls flag football. Incidentally, girls flag football here locally is in its second week now. They played yesterday. Some of them did anyway. Some kind of yielded to the cold, but they are in full swing. They are cranked up, and Emily will tell us what to expect over the course of this season, the first season that girls flag football is actually sanctioned by the TSSAA as an emerging sport. She'll tell you more about that, so stick around. Again, big show, lot going on, lot to get to, so we should probably go ahead and get started on it with yesterday's results, some of today's results, and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Lock and load, boys and girls. The Rundown is here, and we start with girls basketball action from last night. It was Cheatham County. Just talked about them. Cheatham County with a 52-33 win versus Stewart County. Good win for the Cubs there. 51-23. It was Jackson Southside knocking off Creekwood in region play last night. Also, East Nashville picking up a nice win, 54-46 versus Pearl Cone. Hillsboro downs Mount Juliet, 50-45. Cookeville topping Lebanon, 45-32. Loretto wins a close one, 54-49 versus arch rival Summertown. Moore County defeats Richland over in Lynchburg last night, 54-43. And Portland took care of Station Camp last night, 48-37. Couple of boys scores last night. It was Dixon County on top of Henry County, 47-43. Kirkwood turning back Clarksville, 58-52. Lexington was a 55-43 winner versus Creekwood. And Wayne County knocked off Perry County, 63-52. And McEwen wins by 1, 57-56 versus McKenzie.
That sounds like that was quite the interesting affair there, that McEwen-McKenzie game.
Very interesting, to say the least. We were sitting at Media Row last night in Lynchburg, and someone had the feed pulled up and said, "You got to be kidding me." I glance over, and there's a technical foul called with 10 seconds left in the game to essentially decide it. And Wayne County had a huge lead, had to hang on versus Perry County. So things were interesting down in Waynesboro last night as they played catch-up from the Tuesday night rainout.
There we go. Baseball action from Wednesday. Father Ryan with a 9-3 victory over Battle Creek. It was Columbia Central edging Brentwood 5-4. Oh, shootout. Ezel Harding 18, Hillsborough 12. I'm surprised we don't see more of those type games first week of the season, pitching being what it is in the cold. But Lebanon with an 11-1 win over the Bees of Upperman. Beach doubles up Riverdale 6-3. Independence and Rockvale play to a scoreless draw. Nolensville 5, Spring Hill 3, and Siegel in another shootout, defeating Stewart's Creek 12-11. In softball, it was Green Hill 17, Riverdale 5. Boys soccer action, Blackman blanks Wilson Central 2-0. In women's basketball from yesterday, it was Tennessee with a 77-37 win over Texas A&M. We talked a little bit about that one during yesterday's show. And a final from the OVC, Southern Indiana knocked off Tennessee State 90-66. Men's basketball action last night, regular season play down in Oxford, Mississippi, as the host Rebels hold on for a 78-76 win over Tennessee. At the FedEx Arena last night, Oklahoma City Thunder downs the Memphis Grizzlies 120-103.
Tough one for the Grizz last night. And former Clarksville Leaf Chronicle reporter Luke Thompson, he just had to gig me, Mo. He texted me. He's like, "Are you watching this game?" He's an Oklahoma City fan. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Luke. I appreciate that. Yeah. Tough one last night. To the schedule we go for this evening. One of those games has already been completed, as Mo mentioned earlier. At noon, it was Kings Academy meeting Providence Christian, and Kings Academy was a 57-36 winner in that showdown. 7 p.m. tonight, Henry County will meet Clarksville to close our girls basketball regional scoreboard here. Boys basketball scores are scheduled for tonight. Game scheduled to begin at 1:30. A little afternoon action between Providence Christian and Good Pasture. Make sure you check that one out over in Cookeville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing on in Cookeville. See Mr. Chisholm and the gang over there. Should be fun. St. George's versus BGA at 5 o'clock tonight. At 7, Loretto is going to meet Cannon County. Harpeth will travel to Hickman County. Beach is taking on Hillsborough. Centennial will meet Independence. That game is set for 7:30.
That game is at Franklin, by the way. That Centennial Independence game, and that Loretto Cannon County game is at Cascade.
Couple of neutral sites there. Liberty Creek versus Jackson County, also at 7, and a 7 p.m. start for Siegel at Laverne. On Pulaski Citizen Live tonight, Richland will meet Santa Fe. Nobody listened to me, Mo. I tried to get that game moved to Hampshire. Nobody was biting on that. They got good hamburgers over there. Don't sleep on Hampshire, folks. Why not move it? But they'll play in Lynchburg tonight. Huge region championship game for Richland versus Santa Fe. The loser will travel to the winner of Wayne County and McEwen, as we mentioned a moment ago. Finally, Hume Fog. Let's see if they can do it again one more time for my neighbor, Steven. They take on Martin Luther King tonight. Should be a fun showdown to cap your boys basketball scores this evening.
Baseball action this evening at 4:30. Montgomery Bell Academy is at Christ Presbyterian Academy. Also at 4:30, Marshall County is at Battle Creek. Murfreesboro Central travels to Lawson. At 5 o'clock, Zion Christian is at Hickman County. Also at 5, Overton goes to Portland. Lebanon is at Upperman. At 5:30, the aforementioned Hampshire Hawks travel to McEwen. 6 o'clock matchup between Columbia Academy and Columbia Central. That one is being played at Mark Pickle Field on the Columbia Central campus. Also at 6, it's the Middle Tennessee Monarchs at Ezel Harding. Cane Ridge is at Laverne. Lipscomb Academy goes out to Rutherville, taking on the Page Patriots. Summit faces Rockvale at 6. Stewart's Creek is at Siegel. Culleoka goes to Fairview. At 6:15, Clarksville Academy is at Beach. 6:30 starts for Smyrna at Blackman. Tullahoma at Riverdale. Battleground Academy at Eagleville, Ravenwood at Franklin, Friendship Christian hosting Gallatin, Giles County also in Lynchburg taking on the Moore County Raiders at 6:30. Loretto goes south of the border taking on Muscle Shoals of Alabama. Green Hill is at Oakland. 7 o'clock, Middle Tennessee Christian is at Providence Christian. Dixon County is at Clarksville. And time unknown to us, Red Boiling Springs travels to Mount Juliet Christian.
Other games on the docket tonight, these are softball showdowns beginning at 4:30 as Father Ryan travels to John Overton. Blackman will be at Eagle at 5 o'clock tonight. More 5 o'clock starts include Gallatin at Trousdale County. Lipscomb Academy traveling to Ezel Harding. Santa Fe is at Spring Hill. Summit is at Brentwood tonight at 5 p.m. 5:30 start times for Riverdale at Gordonsville. Shelbyville traveling to Rockvale. Lawrence County is at Zion Christian. 6 p.m. showdowns for Cane Ridge at Laverne and Forest at Stewart's Creek. 6:30 window tonight. The late games on the docket, if you will. Oakland at Coffee County. Siegel at Mount Juliet. Let's talk boys soccer here tonight. Oakland will play Smyrna at 4:30. Also at 4:30, STEM will be at Lawson. 5 o'clock, it'll be Ezel Harding at Brentwood. Gallatin will be at Davidson Academy. Fayetteville will play Lawrence County at 5:30 this evening. Friendship Christian will be at Middle Tennessee Christian at 5:30. 6 o'clock window, Agathos Christical, I was thinking Agatha Christie is what I was thinking there. Agathos Classical will be at Columbia Academy. Murder on the Orient Express, I guess. Culleoka will be at Community at 6 p.m. McCauley will be at Hendersonville tonight at 6:30. At 6 p.m. Also at 6:30 tonight, Macon County at Watertown. 7 p.m., Giles County will travel to Battle Creek. 7 p.m. also, we'll see Rockvale at Lebanon and Page versus Murfreesboro Central Magnet.
In women's basketball action today, already a final. Vanderbilt, 8th seeded Vanderbilt, knocks off 9th seeded Tennessee 84-76 in the second round of the SEC tournament over in Greenville, South Carolina. 6 o'clock tonight, Middle Tennessee State's women travel to Liberty. That game can be seen on ESPN+. Also at 6, also on ESPN+, the Belmont women travel to Terre Haute, Indiana, taking on the Lady Sycamores of Indiana State. Men's action, Liberty is at the Glass House. It's a 6:30 tip-off. You can see it on CBS Sports Network, or you can make your way to Murphy Center. Middle Tennessee State with a shot at the Conference USA regular season championship, but a win tonight is paramount. In Atlantic Sun tournament action tonight, Queens is at Lipscomb. That's a 7 o'clock tip. You can see it on ESPN+. Also on ESPN+, from Evansville, Indiana, in the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, Lindenwood takes on Tennessee State. Again, 8:30 ESPN+ for that one. And on the ice, the Kraken will be released at Bridgestone Arena, taking on the Nashville Predators. That's a 7 o'clock puck drop. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia. And we just mentioned it. Number 8, Vanderbilt, 84. Number 9, Tennessee, 76. That's a final from the SEC women's tournament over at Greenville, South Carolina. That knocks Tennessee out of the bracket, coming off of a 40-point win in their opening round matchup yesterday with Texas A&M. That was 9-16. That number 9 seed was the lowest SEC tournament seed in Tennessee women's basketball history. Now, you also got to keep in mind that they added 2 teams to the conference this year, but and Texas and Oklahoma did both finish ahead of them. But, regardless, not a great seed, not a great performance early yesterday from Tennessee. They overcame it, though, obviously. But another slow start kind of bit the Lady Vols today. And as we talked on the show yesterday, you don't want to get behind against this Vanderbilt team because they can score, and they did.
Yeah, Tennessee kind of getting a dose of their own medicine, right? Seeing an offense kind of go to work and kind of light them up. And, man, kudos to Vanderbilt. Massive win for them. They keep their obvious you could do a lot of damage if you're Vanderbilt, of course, and fly up that seed line if – it's a big if, but if you can knock off South Carolina. The same was kind of what was hoping for Tennessee, right? But instead, Vanderbilt wins the matchup. Tennessee kind of – backing into the NCAA tournament here. They've had a season full of ups, full of downs, a lot more ups than downs, but right now they kind of in the regular season and an early exit in conference play on a little bit of a downturn.
3 of their last 4 they've lost You know, they lost pretty decisively up at Kentucky a week ago today. They lost on senior day against Georgia on Sunday. They had that big win yesterday over Texas A&M, number 16 seed Texas A&M, and then this ball game today. So yeah, they head into NCAA tournament play having lost 3 of their last 4. And you know, we were talking to Megan Gower of her Hoop Stats earlier in the week about whether or not there was a path for Tennessee back to a top 4 seed. Maybe we should have been asking her if they could hang on to a number 5 seed at this point, because I'm not even sure. I mean, they may drop off the 5 line again, having lost 3 of their last 4 right here, depending on what happens around them, because they're powerless to do anything more about their resume at this point. They're done. So, you know,
it's not rocket science, but that's the situation you're in, right? A conference tournament is a chance, especially if you're a team like Tennessee, to kind of get some free wins, bolster your resume. We'll talk about the men's team in a minute and what they could possibly do in the tournament. But when you're out of the tournament, not only do you catch a loss to end it, of course, but you have no opportunities. You can't go out and grab those extra wins like some other teams are able to do. You're kind of just sitting and watching for the remainder.
Meanwhile, Vanderbilt has now won 3 straight, having knocked off Texas A&M a week ago and throttling Missouri on Sunday in their finale up at Como. And again, Michaela Blakes continues to impress. 24 points in this one today. Camille Pierre, 15 boards. That's Camille Pierre, who did not make any All-Southeastern Conference teams, as her coach, Shay Ralph, pointed out. Double, 16 points, 15 boards. So, you know, as she said, one thing you don't vote on is championships. So she was pretty salty, man, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, any authenticity kind of feels, and that's kind of where we're at in sports, really, and I guess the world in general. When we're authentic, we kind of, it feels so refreshing that, yeah, whether you agree or not, you got to tip your cap to it. And I'm with you. I kind of like the little saltiness here. Give you a little extra chip on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. Obviously, her motivation level is certainly going to be high, but also maybe, you know, win one for the Gipper type situation. Vibes were in the locker room, right? Everybody's like, no, we ain't going to let our girl get disrespected like that. We're going to go out and play hard. And that's a big win for Vanderbilt today.
That's a huge win. And again, as you said, their reward is top seed, coin flip or not, South Carolina tomorrow. So hopefully the good vibes can continue for the Commodores, because they will need them against Dawn Staley's bunch. Let's take a break here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be coming back to Coach's Corner as we catch up with Cheatham County girls basketball coach Jim Gibbs, he of the Region 6-2A champion Lady Cubs. Stick around.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. During the second hour, we will be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with Emily CROWELL of the TSSAA, who administers girls flag football for them, as this is their first season that the TSSAA has actually sanctioned that sport. So Emily shedding a little light on the significance of that. Looking forward to that again during the 3 o'clock hour. Right now, though, it's time for Coach's Corner, and we are pleased to have with us Cheatham County girls basketball coach Jim Gibbs. The Lady Cubs won their Region 6 AA championship last night, defeating Stewart County, and they await a Saturday sectional visit from Summertown. The winner advancing to girls state tournament action next week at the Glass House over in Murfreesboro. Coach Gibbs, thanks for taking some time with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Improved to 28-4 with that victory over Stewart County last night. And what, 14 straight now? Is that right?
I don't even know, to be honest with you.
I
really don't. I know, as a coach, you always remember the ones you lost. I know their last loss was the Pearl Cone, but I don't even know how many, what we've done in a row lately.
That last loss was a 59-53 loss to Pearl Cone back on January 21st. Since then, 3, 6, 9, 11, 12, 13. Looks like 13, I think. My bad. Sorry.
I will trust you on that
one. What is it that you guys are doing particularly well right now, Coach? Other than winning?
Well, we've been playing pretty good defense. And to be honest with you, we survived on Friday of last week. We had a really bad shooting performance. And got to give credit to Camden for that. We shot 26% in that game. But fortunately, we played pretty good defense of our own and ended up squeaking out a 30-27 victory. So, I mean, it wasn't a pretty game, but just kind of finding a way, to be honest with you. Is, not one thing really standing out, but, a lot of girls playing hard and playing their role and doing what we need to be successful.
And it looks like defense has kind of been your calling card over the course of the season. Not a consistently high scoring bunch, but you've been holding folks down. And anytime you can do that, you're going to give yourself a shot, obviously.
That's correct. That's one of the things I've always tried to instill in my players, that, you don't always have to score a whole lot, but as long as you keep the other team down. And, obviously, as you get further in the tournaments, you get better and better competition, and that challenge becomes intensified.
Coach, as you kind of see these games increase in magnitude, I'm always curious. Leadership undoubtedly has got to be high within your team. Is that something that you've had to stress as the season has gone on, or is that something that your squad has kind of picked up organically in your mind?
We've got two girls that really stand out as far as our leaders, Montana Lee, our senior guard, and our junior post player, Gracie Bell Weekly. They probably lead the way for us as far as, just organizing things, leading our group. But we have a pretty steady group that stays pretty even keel. And, that really helps. You don't get too high, you don't get too low. You just try to stay steady.
You mentioned Montana Lee. I feel like leadership should come pretty natural for her because it feels like she's been around your program for ages. I do radio for Giles County, and I remember years ago she was a thorn in Giles County's side even back then. So with a player that's been around that long, I imagine she should have some pretty good leadership skills, right?
She does. She's a coach on the floor. She does a nice job of getting us where we need to be when things are going awry. And, so obviously, like you said, she's been on the floor for basically 4 years. She's been starting over 3 years. And, she's just got a great leadership. The girls respect her. And of course, her time on the floor deserves that respect.
Mo talked about your winning streak that you guys are on. Coach, I'm curious, what have you either been most proud of, or what have you maybe learned about your squad during this run, and kind of how can you use that to kind of try and get you over that next hump, a big one obviously on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Summertown coming in, this is a traditional powerhouse in girls basketball. Team's been in the state tournament numerous times, but, for our team, it's just been staying consistent. Again, sometimes one part may let you down, but you use that other part to kind of navigate through a difficult stretch, and you just find ways. I mean, we're a team that can go a period of time we may not score, and then we may score in bunches. So it's just riding out the negative part and then finding your way to a positive.
Jim Gibbs, girls basketball coach at Cheatham County Central High School, joining us here on Main Street Sports today on Coach's Corner. Coach, you lost in the region finals last year, and that put you on the road to Loretto, and we know how that one turned out. How much more of a comfort is it? Obviously, Summertown, as you mentioned, is a perennial state tournament contender, but the idea that you've got them coming to your place, how much easier does that allow you to breathe as opposed to having to make that trip on top of everything else?
Well, I mean, the fact that it's at home, at least we don't have to drive 2 hours plus to get there. It's difficult to get out of a vehicle and go, try to get into game mode pretty quickly when your body's a little bit stiff. So I'm hoping they'll start out a little bit slower, kind of like we did last year, and maybe we can turn the tables a little bit as far as our fortunes. But again, they're a very talented ball club. I've seen quite a bit of them over the last couple of days, and just just trying to find weaknesses, and they don't seem to have very many. So we're just going to have to try and find a few fortunate breaks, and maybe things will turn our way.
I think you might have just kind of answered a question for me there, because you played your region championship on Wednesday. You turn around and play your sectional on Saturday. You don't have a whole lot of prep time. So I was wondering, how much of a look ahead, I know coaches don't like to talk about looking ahead, but how much time prior to your game last night had you spent trying to look at, Loretto and Summertown?
The biggest thing I was trying to do was go ahead and have films gathered. That way, when we knew who our opponent was, we could basically delete the other ones and move to the one that was going to be of importance to us, and that's what we've been trying to do. I probably got 7 or 8 films of Summertown that we're trying to get through in basically a 48-hour period. to navigate into Saturday.
What, through the film that you've been able to look at to this point, what's kind of the common thread that you see in them?
They got shooters all over the place. They play solid defense. Coach Gene does a great job of coaching his girls, and they're going to be where they're supposed to be, and they play hard. And there's a reason they're still playing at this time, because they are very much a quality basketball team, and we've got a big challenge on our hands playing them on Saturday.
As you look at them, and I don't want you to give away any government secrets or anything like that, but I mean, what do you feel like, where do you feel like there might be an advantage for y'all?
I don't know that it's just going to take consistent effort for 4 quarters. That's something that we try to stress. They don't have a lot of weaknesses, so there's not a whole lot of things I can just say we're going to try and take advantage of. It's just trying to find a break here or there, and hopefully we shoot the ball a whole lot better than we did the last time we played in our gym.
Didn't shoot it very well the last time out, huh? Where was y'all's tournament?
Well, our district and region tournament were at Hickman County. They're in Centerville. Mm-hmm. But of course, the first round of the region was at home. And like I said, we shot 26% in that game. So I'm hoping our fortunes have changed, either that, or I'm going to have to see if I can rent the gym down at Hickman County real quick to go back down there for another game.
Now, that's a thought. I kind of like where your head's at there, Coach. Hey, if we're not going to get it done at our place, so let's see if we can rent out another spot. I like that.
Hey, my thought is it doesn't matter where we play. I just want to try and find some way to get a W. And, that's what they want us to do. And, that's what we want to try and find, any kind of way. But, I mean, obviously we're going to play here. We want our crowd to be here. And I think our students got really involved in the game last night. And I'm looking forward to having a big crowd here on Saturday evening.
It's kind of ironic that you say that you shot it well at Hickman County, because typically when you go to the bigger gyms like that, Coach, that's not necessarily the case. And Hickman County is a cavern.
Well, our gym is pretty big as well, kind of the same kind of setup with the bleachers that go upstairs. We don't have a whole lot of seating downstairs, but it's got a lot upstairs. And so, I mean, it's pretty similar to the setup that we have here at Cheatham.
Okay. Besides Montana, who are some other folks that we should be familiar with as you guys head into this big Saturday night ball game?
Well, Gracie Bell Weekly is a post player for us. She was our district's MVP during the regular season. Montana was the district tournament MVP and the district defensive player of the year. Sydney Mitchell has really stepped up her game for us in region play. She was the MVP of the region that just concluded last night. And so, I mean, she's doing a nice job for us. Our other 2 starters, Emmy Orange has the capability of putting up big nights with points. And our other starter, Georgia Hunter, is just a consistent cog for us to fill the roles that we need just defensively and rebounding.
So you had 3 different players win regular season, district MVP, district tournament MVP, and region tournament MVP.
That's correct.
That's balance. You got to like
that if
that.
you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you as a coach, you have to kind of like the way different people kind of stepped up in big moments like that, obviously.
No doubt about it. We've been trying to encourage, people to want that opportunity and to seek it. And when your number is called, be ready to step up and put it in the basket, or to do your role defensively, because shutting somebody's their main offensive cog down is just as important as being able to put it in the basket.
Jim GIBBS of Cheatham County Central High School joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Reading is fundamental. Jim, it's 12 straight games. If I could count, I'd be dangerous, but it's 12 straight. wins that y'all take into this matchup on Saturday against Summertown. Looking to make it lucky 13 and roll that into a trip to the Glass House. We appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon and wish y'all luck this weekend.
I thank you guys so much for having me, and I appreciate everything you do for sports in our community and for supporting high school athletics in the state of Tennessee.
Well,
Yes,
we
sir.
certainly try. We appreciate it, and hope to see you next week.
I'd love to go back to my alma mater.
There we go. There we go. Sounds
And
good.
not as a visitor.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I don't know when you graduated, but I can tell you, if you've not been back, it has changed. So,
Yes, very much so.
yeah. Hey, we appreciate it, Jim. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Hey, we need to give out some weekly awards as we typically do on Thursdays. We will start with our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building experience in athletics. Custom Stone Handlers invites you to get in the game, and our Into Win Life Team of the Week is the Summit Girls Flag Football Team. Ahead of our throwback conversation with Emily CROWELL, Summit won both their games in shutout fashion last week to open the season, defeating Overton 26-0 and Hume Fogg 34-0. So, and then they backed that up with 2 more wins yesterday, but that didn't factor into this selection. But the Summit Spartans Girls Flag Football Team is our Custom Stone Handlers Into Win Life Team of the Week. Our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week is Nick Degnan, a senior from Independence High School. In 2 games last week, Nick averaged 14.5 points. He had 16 points in Independence's District 10 4A championship matchup with Franklin. He had 5 total threes on the week, and Nick Degnan is our TOA Columbia Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Summit Girls Flag Football Team. And let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little basketball. Stick around.
Only in Smashville are opponents welcomed with some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. We'll give you a hand, cheer you on. Hey, we'll even leave a light on.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Let's talk a little basketball, particularly of the collegiate variety, and we can narrow it down even further than that to the Southeastern Conference, as fourth-ranked Tennessee traveled to Oxford, Mississippi last night, battled the Ole Miss Rebels throughout, led by as many as 8 in the second half, but had to get a 4-point play from Igor Milicic really late, like inside the last 10 seconds, I think, to tie the game and ideally force overtime. Well, Ole Miss had other ideas. After Tennessee beat Alabama on a buzzer beater by Jamal Mashak on Saturday, they kind of got the other end of that last night. Ole Miss scoring on a putback. It has, as they like to say around basketball, it's not the first shot, it's the second shot. Tennessee couldn't get the defensive rebound. Ole Miss grabbed it, stuck it back in, and walked away with the 78-76 victory last night. So, I mean, SEC basketball going SEC basketball. It just, nobody is safe. Ask Auburn.
Yeah, nobody's safe. And this league just continues to chew everybody up, spit them out. And you were exactly right. Jimmy Dykes had that exact call last night. He said, it's not the first shot that's going to get you. It's sometimes the second. And, man, if you're Tennessee, you'll take the buzzer beater versus Bama, but how about a cruel twist of fate after Rick Barnes was begging for the timeout Saturday versus Bama? Doesn't get it. He's furious, but then they make the shot, and suddenly he's not so furious. Then last night he does get the timeout. You got Mashak. You're thinking, man, hey, let that three fly, baby. But no, we call the timeout. You get a great look. I thought the shot dropped, but it just rimmed and rimmed and rimmed, and then finally pops out. Tennessee suffers a tough road loss in a tough league that will be coming down to Saturday to decide a lot of things in terms of seeding.
Yeah, I was sitting there talking to Jody, watching the tail end of it, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this timeout right here, because you've got to get it inbounded again. And as we saw Saturday, that ain't always a sure thing. So, yeah, I might have just, like you said, just ran with it right there and let it fly. But I've not won nearly as many games as Rick Barnes. So, yeah. Ole Miss with the 78-76 victory. Tennessee falls to 24-6 on the year with that loss. And that might, much as we've talked about Vanderbilt all year, that might have clinched an NCAA tournament berth for unranked Ole Miss, who has been ranked at times this season, but is not right now.
Yeah, it felt like Ole Miss punched their ticket. Bracket Matrix has them in all one. They got 118 power points, the way they kind of do aggregate all the polls. They're in every single poll, safely in as a 7 seed. So that pretty much stamps their ticket. Tough loss for Tennessee. I will admit, we talked about the Tennessee game from Saturday too. I'm a little conversely disappointed in the Ole Miss fans who kind of rushed the court, kind of didn't. You're Ole Miss, man. You're known for being the rebel rousers. You're known for being the party school. And your basketball history, yeah, you've had some good runs, but you're still not a blue blood. So get out there, man. Celebrate.
That was a little tepid, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, they were halfway doing it. And then, the PA announcers begging them to do it. I was like, no, man, just let them go. Ole Miss got some deep South pockets. They can afford a little hit to the NIL fund. Lane should have been out there leading them on the court, if anything.
Oh yeah, all the seersucker suits they got down there in Oxford, they can afford that. What was it?
Yeah, rush, baby, rush.
Yeah, go head on. Yeah, enjoy that win.
Just don't throw any mustard
or golf balls.
Yeah.
Topsy-turvy week in the league. Mississippi State losing to visiting Texas on Tuesday night. We didn't talk much about that yesterday, nor Texas A&M snapping a 4-game losing streak by defeating Auburn by 11. So it's been a lot. Arkansas downs Vanderbilt. We did hit that in the rundown, but very little else. But yeah, it's been a crazy week in the SEC.
Up and down week, but Auburn does survive. They do clinch the SEC regular season title. They're locked in as the 1. Florida, with their big win last night, they wrap up the 2. Everything else feels like it's kind of in flux from 3 to 12. 13 through 16 pretty much set at this point. So anything could kind of happen heading into Saturday. And for me, it's just all about kind of who's playing the best ball at the right time. We see it time and time again. A team can get hot either right at the end of the season or right at the conference tournament, and you kind of speed that up and roll that into the NCAA tournament. We're talking about a team maybe making the Sweet 16 and beyond. I'm fascinated to see who kind of recaptures some mojo coming into this weekend.
Yeah. Talking about top 25, top 15 teams, Oklahoma downs visiting Missouri last night as well by 12, 96-84. So there's still a lot, like you said, to be determined heading into this weekend, and trying to see what that schedule looks like for Saturday.
Well, we know we got Bama and Auburn, the rematch. And we know Tennessee's got South Carolina.
With Auburn already being pretty well, Auburn being the regular season champion, does that one lose any luster, or is that still Alabama, Auburn, and nothing else need be said?
I think it loses a little bit of luster. The only thing is, by Auburn losing that game earlier this week, they need to get a win, and they need to run it out the rest of the way, because I got Duke nipping at their heels for that number 1 overall seed. There's a number of other teams that could make a case if either one of those teams stumble. So Auburn kind of comes in needing it. Alabama still could finish 3rd, most likely going to finish 4th, however, between them and Tennessee kind of flip-flopping there. So, I mean, Auburn feels like they're kind of set. But, yeah, you'd love to obviously have that number 1 overall seed, and obviously just throw in the fact that it's Alabama and Auburn. Playing at home, they should be able to take care of business, but, man, they didn't look so hot versus Texas A&M.
Yeah, no, they did not. Number 7, Alabama going to Auburn. That's a 2:30 matchup. I'm sorry, 1:30 our time. You can see it on ESPN. Tennessee finishes out at home against South Carolina. Texas A&M goes to LSU. Vanderbilt is at Georgia. You got number 19 Kentucky going to number 15 Missouri. That's an early game on Saturday, 11 o'clock Central Time. That may be your second biggest game behind Auburn, Alabama. So,
and that's a big game. That's the game we can't trust either one of these teams, especially on the road, right? Mark Mize with Pulaski Says Live. He's the biggest Missouri fan I know, and he said that exact phrase last night. He said, "You cannot trust this team away from home right now." Playing at home, though, be a chance for Missouri to get back and kind of recapture some of their momentum that they have had. But that will be a fun one early on Saturday.
Yeah, and man, like you said, these standings, you've got Missouri, Ole Miss, and A&M all at 10-7 right now. Kentucky's at 9-8. Mississippi State and Vanderbilt are at 8-9. Georgia and Arkansas at 7-10. So you've still got a lot of spots undetermined in that 16-team bracket for next week. So yeah, it's going to come, as you said, it's all going to come down to Saturday and who does what. Wade, we've heard of San Diego State. They were a Final Four team a couple of years ago. We've heard of the University of San Diego, not necessarily for basketball. That's where Jim Harbaugh coached at one time. But are you familiar with UCSD, Cal San Diego?
No would be the easy answer. The only reason I'm somewhat familiar is there's been a couple nights this year where I've seen them on the docket, and I see the record, and I'm like, okay, they seem pretty good. And then I see San Diego later, and I'm like, wait a second, which one of these teams is good? Because one is very good and one is very bad.
Cal San Diego apparently is pretty good, and they are 5 years removed from Division II, but they are 26-4 in the Big East, and they might, I'm sorry, in the Big West. It could be the Big East with conference realignment. I mean, it's not out of the realm, but they are a team that you might want to familiarize yourself with. Only 4 Division I teams have more victories than the Tritons. You probably didn't know that was their nickname either. They have won 11 straight, not as many as Cheatham County, but a bunch nonetheless. And Ken Palm has them at number 36. They've got a net of 35 alongside two-time defending national champion UConn. And again, they were Division II up until 2020.
Talk about a turnaround, right? Or talk about a growth. And we saw Bellarmine come into the A-Sun, and I think a lot of folks thought, with the success they had at D2, they might just be able to kind of cruise and ease. We're seeing that with UNA, who potentially could play for their first ever Division I tournament appearance on Sunday if they win their game. We haven't seen anything quite like this yet. These guys are absolutely rolling, so much so to the point, I mean, you're kind of wondering if they don't win, do they got the goods? The computers back it up. They got the goods to maybe grab an at-large bid, right?
Oh, you're really talking about upsetting the apple cart there. But yeah, I mean, again, 26-4 with those numbers, mid-30s in net, and then Ken Palm. I'm sure they would find a way to not include them in the bracket, but man, and you, if you are them, you don't want to leave it to chance. But they've certainly got a resume that makes you wonder if that's an option for them. So keep an eye on the Tritons here as we make our way through Champ Week coming up here. Meanwhile, Dayton picked up a big win over a couple of nights ago at home against St. Louis, and apparently the appearance of Dave Chappelle is being credited in some way for the Flyers' comeback victory there. Apparently he showed up right around halftime. Dayton was down about 14 at the break, came back and beat St. Louis 75-67. Coincidence? Depends on who you ask. But
yeah, I don't see any reason. This feels like nothing but good vibes, right? Chappelle walks in, and either one of two things: either your team, either Dayton sees them and they say, "All right, man, hey, one of the greatest to ever do it is in the building. We got to step our game up," or the other team is over there and they're starstruck. Their jaws are, they're over there thinking about, "Hey, as soon as this game's over, I got to sprint over and get a selfie." Maybe or potentially a combo of both. But yeah, I'm buying this. Give my man a little props and maybe a sneaky endorsement opportunity if he plays his cards right.
There we go. Apparently he lives nearby, close to Dayton. This was his first time at a Dayton home game, though, but hung out with Anthony Grant after the game, and Grant said, "It's not every day you get Dave Chappelle in the house," and said he would be back. So they got something to look forward to. Another Chappelle. I wonder if Dave will make it out for the first 4 here in a couple of weeks. Maybe him and Joe Sullivan can hang out a little bit.
But now that would be, he took a selfie with the team after the game. Talk about a selfie for the ages, though. If we get Joe and Dave together, I mean, that's two Titans together.
We got to see if we can figure out a way to make that happen. Absolutely. Man, things in Lawrence are going from bad to worse. Sounds like you got a player receiving threatening and racist messages on his social media channels. Zeke Mayo getting called out after their loss Saturday to Texas Tech. Bill Self has responded to that by issuing a statement requesting that any criticism about the team be directed to him, and I'm sure KU fans are obliging him. Yeah,
it hadn't been fun for the preseason number one, right? Things have gone from flying high to not so great to bad to worse to kind of almost bottoming out. I mean, we're talking about a team that's still going to obviously easily be in the tournament field, but considering where they were and considering the expectations, this is a team that's only won 19 games at the moment.
And they've lost 10.
Yeah. And
great double-digit loss season.
It's been a tough sled. And, self-statement, I kind of get where he's going with that, but it also, man, it just feels like a little bit hollow. And, man, obviously the comments online they're brutal. A dime a dozen, unfortunately, but they don't make them any less hurtful. So that's what really is frustrating, really aggravating. But it kind of just adds to this, their borderline season from hell. They got a massive showdown coming up Saturday versus Arizona. A win at the Fog would cure things a little bit. Well, maybe not cure them, but it would certainly help. But, man, if they drop that one to the Wildcats, it'll be another tough night, I feel like, for Self and company.
That would be at least 3 straight if it goes that way, because they lost Monday night to Houston, number 3 Houston. Not a whole lot of shame in that, but still, I mean, when you're Kansas, you don't think you're supposed to lose to anybody, or certainly that's the way their fans kind of feel about it.
Yeah, that's the funny part, right? I mean, they've lost to Texas Tech, who everybody loves, computers and experts alike. They lost to Houston, who everybody loves. But you're exactly right. You have this pedestal that your program has been put on, and that's what makes it so difficult. Any other program in the country, almost, we're probably not really talking about this story in the same way, but they are kind of the gold standard in a lot of years.
Meanwhile, Mayo is averaging 14 points, 5 boards, and 3 assists, and is being called everything but a child of God for going 1 of 7 from the floor, scoring 5 points in that Texas Tech loss. It's his 3rd single-digit scoring effort in the last 4 games. And again, Jayhawk fans letting him know about it in no uncertain terms. It's really unfortunate. Social media ain't always pretty.
No, and I mean, when we're talking about this story, this goes on, I'm afraid to say, but at virtually every campus, social media gives everybody that instant platform. And we're talking about college students or egg avatars on social media here. I mean, things get ugly pretty quickly. Everybody's got a chance to fire off. That is the gross underbelly kind of being in such direct access. And yeah, nobody should be subjected to this, but unfortunately everybody is subjected to it, especially at a program like Kansas.
No doubt. Our number 1 here on Throwback Thursday is in the books on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Stick around after the break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It's the second hour of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our next segment, we will be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with the TSSAA's Emily Crowell, talking a little girls flag football. Right now, though, we have the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, joining us. Chip getting ready for a big ball game tonight at the Murphy Center when the Liberty Flames come in to take on the Blue Raiders. And Chip, good afternoon, first of all. Thanks for joining us. Sorry we had to kind of alter the schedule, not get you on Tuesday, but we had things going on.
Well, you know, you all have been on the other end of my travel log as well. So
I was going to say, you ain't the only one with stuff going on, Chip. Every now and again, me and Mo got a thing to do as well.
Right, exactly. But yeah, it you know, you can just kind of feel, you can kind of feel. I was just over at the arena getting set up, and shoot around for middle was going on. The CBS crew was there getting set up, and the CBS announcers were talking with Coach McDevitt after practice. So there's some juice in the air to this one tonight, and rightfully so. You always want to play meaningful games in March, and you sure have one right here, because the winner of tonight's game will be in a flat-footed tie with Jacksonville State with one game to play on Saturday. So, pretty much Middle, Liberty, and Jacksonville State are going to finish 1, 2, 3 somewhere in that order. If you finish 1 and 2, the big difference is you play, if you're 1 or 2, you play a first round game on Wednesday. If you finish third, you play a first round game, or quarterfinal game, I should say, on Thursday. What the league does for the top 2 seeds is you get a little rest after your first game, and if you can win your game on Wednesday, then you don't play again until Friday. So it's not nearly the gauntlet that from one end to the other that the Sun Belt is. The worst you would have to do would be finishing 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th and having to play 4 games in that span. But, what you want to do, you obviously get a piece of the championship if you can win 2. And if you can win 2, you're guaranteeing yourself, at worst, co-championship. If you can win both and get a Jacksonville State loss, then you're the outright champs. And on the men's side, and the women can win their outright championship tonight.
That's what I was going to ask you, Chip. Let's just say Middle wins both these games tonight and Saturday against visiting FIU.
Yes, sir.
Let's do that. And then what has to happen for Middle to win this thing outright?
Very simple. Jacksonville State has to lose to Kennesaw State. That's they are travel partners, and they will play each other on Saturday. I think at 2:00 as well. The league mandates that all games this Saturday have to start no later than 2:00 local time. So, that you would know by 4:30 or 5:00 how all that's going to play out. But obviously you have to take care of your own knitting first, and it all starts tonight against Liberty's won 23 games this year, and they haven't done it by accident. They beat Middle by 10 first week of the season, and here you are back on the final week of the season. I will say this, that the first week of the season, which was January 2nd and 4th, Middle played at FIU on the 2nd, which meant they had 1 day to prepare for Liberty on the 4th. Now, in this case, it's flipped, and Middle has had since basically Sunday to prepare for Liberty, and will have a 48-hour turnaround against FIU. In my way of thinking, I would rather play Liberty in the Thursday matchup than where you had more time to prepare for them, because they are a little more intricate in what they do and unique in what they do offensively. And so, you want to have more time to study and figure out how you want to defend them. I liken them a lot to Belmont in the way that they are just very solid, not only personnel wise, but very solid scheme wise, and they do what they do very well. So, the more time you have to prepare for that, the better off you are. You wouldn't want Derek Mason to have to, play 7 run and shoots and then all of a sudden throw a wishbone in there and try to do that. So that's kind of how that is. But it's a national television audience tonight, so you obviously want to come out and play well. Middle's won 5 out of its last 6, and they're getting their team right at the right time, it appears.
Let's cut through all of that fluff, though. You'd rather play Liberty on Thursday and FIU on Saturday with that quick turnaround, in part because the Panthers are 9-20 overall and 3-13 in league play.
Well, that's part of it, yeah. And you feel like, okay, let's get the tough piece of business done. And although I do remember a few years ago when the team that Kermit had, final 2 regular season games, you had Western coming in on a Thursday night, and that was a big game with the championship on the line. Middle won that game, and then came out on Saturday and absolutely had its doors blown off by Marshall. And so you can't, as cliche as it is, you have everybody in the league is good enough to beat you on any given night. We've talked about FIU as being a team that I'm not sure they have enough firepower to win 4 straight games to win the tournament next week, but they certainly have athletes and the defensive prowess to knock off anybody on any given day.
Chip, I got to bring this up. It's just fun to look back, if nothing else. I pulled up the preseason poll for Conference USA. We've talked a lot about MTSU. We've talked a lot about Liberty. We've talked a lot about Jacksonville State. MTSU voted 4th. Liberty voted 5th. Jacksonville State voted 8th. You didn't vote on this preseason poll, did you?
I did not. Okay. No, I did not. But now you
Who
also
did?
Look. But now look who's really playing good right now. That is mired down toward the bottom, and that is Louisiana Tech. And they were picked to win the league, and all of a sudden they've kind of gotten their team headed in the right direction, and they're one that it's like, man, let's get on the other side of the bracket from them. Although you would never turn down winning a regular season championship, it's like, gosh, if we can avoid those cats for a little while, then you wouldn't be mad about that.
I do totally agree, and that kind of leads me to ask. This may not necessarily be your cup of tea, but going into the conference tournament, we still got 2 games, of course. But how many teams in your mind could win this conference tournament? I'll just ask it point blankly like that.
And I'm always going to be. I mean, they all scare me to death from time to time. I think right now you're looking obviously Middle, Liberty, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw, with those two guards they have with Cottle and Woolley, that's a fourth team. Louisiana Tech is 5, and probably New Mexico State you could throw in. So there's 6 right there that I could sit back here and easily make a case for. And, that's, and then there's, the other ones you feel like that UTEP at times has been as good as anybody in the league. They started out really strong. They may have peaked a little early, and Middle came from behind. On that last road trip to New Mexico State and UTEP, there were 85 minutes of basketball played in those two games. Middle led for a total of about 5.5 minutes of the 85, and really snatched one away from UTEP. Middle hit 3 straight threes down the stretch and sent the thing into overtime and was able to get the win. Against New Mexico State, just hung around and made some plays right at the end of the ball game and got the win there. So this, it sounds like a broken record, but this is as good as the league has been. One of the numbers I saw late last week was outside of the Power 4, there are only 2 other leagues in the country that have at least 9 of their members in the top 170 of the net. And Conference USA has 9 of its 10 in the top 170, while the Atlantic team has 11 of its 15 in the top 170. So, if you use that as a metric, then it tells you what you need to know about how balanced the league has been all year long.
Well, that's kind of why I asked you that question, because I'm going through the standings and I'm like, man, okay, this team. And then there was only 1 or 2 that I'm thinking, okay, they maybe don't have a real shot to win this thing. It feels like it's going to be a fun tournament no matter what the seeds end up being and no matter how it plays out.
It could be carnage next week down at Probst Arena.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today on Throwback Thursday. Chip, you kind of stole a little bit of my thunder because Middle put itself in position to play for a conference regular season championship with that 2-0 road trip out to New Mexico State and Texas El Paso this past weekend. And, realistically, I think you're thinking, okay, if we can split on this road trip, we're in pretty good shape. I mean, once you win at New Mexico State, then of course you get greedy. But realistically, I don't know that anybody would have expected to win both of those games other than Nick McDevitt and those other guys in that locker room probably.
Yeah, one of the things that, having a mature team like this one that we've chronicled throughout the basketball season, the team that has no teenagers on it, is that, they don't get rattled real easy. And you talk about getting those splits and then getting greedy. Middle has not lost a conference road swing this year. The worst they've done is split. That was Jacksonville State and Kennesaw. They obviously won on the road at Western. They won both at New Mexico State and UTEP. They won at FIU, split that one with Liberty. So, they have won 8 road games in the entire regular season and have won 4 straight now in conference play on the road. And they're one of 3 teams that has a winning road record. And it would not surprise you. It's Middle, Liberty, and Jacksonville. And who's at the top of the league right now? Middle, Liberty, and Jacksonville. And it's because they've been able to go not only take care of things at home, but they've been able to go on the road and win as well. And, when you flip it over to the women's side, it comes up exactly the same way, that the one team that has taken care of all their business at home and only lost 1 on the road is sitting in a position to wrap up the number 1 seed and the regular season championship tonight if they can win 1 more road game in Lynchburg, Virginia.
That I mean, you can't overstate that, I don't think. Just the consistency that this Middle Tennessee State women's basketball program has shown in Conference USA under Rick Insell. I mean, if not for that one loss up at Western Kentucky a few weeks ago, they would be rolling into 40s plus 40 something straight conference victories. I mean, they've just dominated this league.
Well, it would. I think if they did that tonight, if they had not lost at Western, because Nick McDevitt had this figured out that had they run the table and won the tournament in 3 games, the championship game would have been the 50th straight. So so it's like number 40 tonight would be 46 or something like that. And so you know, they have, you know, they have more than earned their stripes for sure. And you've got you know, it'll be interesting to see all the voting for Conference Player of the Year and all conference teams was completed yesterday. They'll announce those early next week, and so you'll have it'll be interesting to see how Anastasia Boldreva and Tamia Scott are, how they're treated. Well, I think they'll both make first team all conference, but it'll be interesting to see how they're treated. Is one going to be player of the year and the other defensive player of the year? You could make a case for Anastasia being the defensive player of the year because of the rim protector that she is. So it'll you know, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, because, you know, one of the other players, really the only other person that had been even considered for player of the year, was the Kaiser young lady from New Mexico State, and Middle put Jalen Gregory on her the other night and held her to 7 points. So I think they were attempting to make a statement defensively, and certainly did that, and held New Mexico State to under 40 that night. So you know, they have become a machine that is not necessarily scoring 80 points a night, but they're more like a boa constrictor that squeezes the breath out of you, and winning things on the defensive end.
Yeah, and as you said, Anastasia's right in the middle of that. She fell early in the UTEP game on Saturday and hit her head. I think she knocked herself out momentarily. And they are a different team with her on the floor versus without, for sure. I mean, they went on a big run when she came back into that game, and they closed it out really well. Tamia just continues to do Tamia things. She and Cam Weston are your reigning Conference USA Players of the Week this week, and
Cam Weston, the sixth starter for Nick McDevitt, as that's what Nick likes to call him, the sixth starter.
I like that. And you know, they are both multi-player of the week winners, right? I know
they are.
Is. Yeah, so you'd like to think that that's going to bode well for both of them in postseason honors as well. Chip, let's step away from basketball for just a second. Is Chris still taking calls now that he is a member of the College Football Playoff Committee, or is he like hi-hatting everybody now?
Well, I saw him about 40 minutes ago, and he was and he approached me and shook my hand. So,
well, there you go.
So that was a good sign. You know, this is everybody's personality and everybody's skill set is different, and everybody has their strong suits. This is a perfect match for Chris Massaro. He is very good at delving deep into the analytics. Loves that kind of research, all of that kind of thing. So this will be it'll be a 3-year position for him, and he'll do a great job with the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, and I was talking to Derek Mason yesterday, and kind of giggle. I said, Well, kind of toward the end of the season, you don't have to worry about the boss man being around a whole lot, do you? And he kind of giggled at that. But I was doing a podcast with Derek that'll be dropped a week from Sunday, just before spring ball starts. So, just kind of an update across the board, everything from positions to facilities to scheduling to, pretty much, how's he feeling and all of that. So, there's some, that'll come down and they're going to have an event in April on the 12th. I think it's the date. It's not going to be a game. It's going to be called a spring showcase. And we talked about that as well, not only at Middle, but across the country, how spring ball is changing and how spring games are going away. And to give folks a little, just a real quick lesson, and you wonder why. Well, by God, I'd like to see a spring game. Well, number one, they have 15 dates in the spring that they can use, 15 practice sessions in spring ball. If you play a game, that counts as one of your dates. Well, if you play a game, then you also probably have to have a walkthrough on how to go about the game. So there's another one that gets you down to 13. They feel like with as many new guys as they have having every year right now across college football, that coaches would rather use all 15 of those practices as real practices. And also, who wants, in this current climate, who wants to showcase a young player out there on April 12th and have his phone ring on April 13th from somewhere else? The world we live in.
That's the reality of it. It absolutely is, especially I think when you are a Middle Tennessee State, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe when you're in Nebraska or whoever else as well, maybe they're still getting those phone calls. But yeah, that's where we are. So
exactly.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, we appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Get yourself ready for this ball game. Hopefully your pipes, hopefully your pipes will be going up an octave there in the final moments as Middle walks off with a victory against the Flames. And we will catch up with you next week.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Keep the entertainer's secret close by tonight.
That is some good stuff right there.
We'll talk, man.
See you. Bye.
Let's take a break. When we come back here on the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports today, it will be Throwback Thursday. We'll throw it back to our recent conversation with the TSSAA's Emily Crowell on girls flag football. Stick around. Might learn something.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Pleased to have with us now from the Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association, Emily Crowell, as we talk a little girls flag football. Emily, thanks for joining us, first of all. What is your title?
I'm one of our assistant executive directors, and thanks for having me today.
No, absolutely. And you are pretty much the point person for girls flag, as Mark Reeves assured us when we had him on a couple of weeks ago, and we were trying to kind of delve into that reign. He said, no, you need to talk to Emily. So we're talking to Emily. I know that Williamson County and Metro Nashville are starting play this week, Emily, specifically on Wednesday. Those two are kind of playing a crossover schedule here through March. Do you know who else locally and across the state is getting cranked up? Is anybody else going this early?
I think this might be the earliest. This week is the earliest I've heard for the spring, but I know Rutherford County is going to get going soon. We've got some a little north of here in Sumner, so kind of all over, and then west and east as well. We've got stuff happening this spring.
But this is the earliest because it's spring sports aren't bad enough as it is. We got to get outside for girls flag before February even gets gone. But it's an exciting time. As you know, I was able to speak with you for a little bit out at the wrestling tournament this past weekend about this. Tennessee last April became the 10th state nationally to sanction girls flag football, and it just kind of continues this state's efforts to, recognize female athletes, it feels like.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe in the early years we were not as known for advancing girls, but I'm glad that we're there now. With girls wrestling, you and I think talked a little bit about that. But yeah, thrilled that we have girls flag football coming on. I think there's 15 states now that have sanctioned it, and it looks like a lot more are coming. So glad to be leading that charge.
Emily, I want to ask, kind of from the initial announcement to kind of where we sit today, what else has changed in terms of getting things ready for this first rollout here?
Yeah, well, it's kind of exploded more so than I ever thought it was. I was telling Maurice when we sanctioned last April, we only had 36 schools that were participating, and I was hoping by this point we would have about 72. We actually have 156. So it exploded far more than I thought it would, but that's a great thing. We've seen it, in every part of the state. So from my perspective, what we've been doing is just kind of doing some initial classification, putting the schools into districts geographically, just so they can set up their games. And then we will have a postseason invitational, which is a part of our emerging sport philosophy now, is that we'll have an invitational and see how it goes. And then hopefully our board will look at a state championship for the sport.
Emily, I also got to ask, were you can tell the truth here. Were you happy or a little upset that maybe you were not featured in the Super Bowl commercial when the NFL, I thought it was so neat that, you mentioned now we're up to 15 out of 50 states, but the NFL with a commercial during the Super Bowl, which was one of the better ones, I think, over the course of the broadcast. It was really neat that they're making such a push to try and get as a viable varsity sport in 50 states now.
Absolutely. I was so pleased to see that commercial. I agree. I think it was one of the better ones that ran. Yeah, it's great. The NFL has been so supportive and has really been on the forefront of pushing it in all of the states, even states that don't have an NFL market. So that's been good to see. But yeah, just that's amazing. That's not something we would have seen, when I was in high school. So it's great to see women's sports in general just getting the recognition that it deserves.
Emily Crowell of the TSSAA joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Emily, what would you attribute that boom in 1 year to? Was it just that people were waiting for it to become sanctioned, or was that what it took to kind of get it in front of some folks, or in 1 year to blow up like that? What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because we're trying to look at who's playing, and it's kind of a mixture of everybody. Like we're seeing kids that aren't playing any other sport come out and try out flag football. We're seeing kids that are playing all different other sports. So there's not really any segment of the high school population that it's necessarily pointing to. But I think overall it just shows like girls have always had an interest in football. I mean, we've grown up watching tackle football, and it's so much a part of society that I think girls are just jumping at the chance to be able to play for themselves.
When you're talking to these schools about how this is evolving, Emily, are the kids driving this? Are the athletic departments driving this? How is this coming about? Are a bunch of girls like Shanghai and coaches and saying, hey, we want to play football and we want you to coach it? Or how is that coming about?
I think that's definitely happening in some cases, that you just have a lot of enthusiasm from the girls themselves, but it's a mixture. In some schools, the tackle football coach has gotten on board and is really excited to be able to work with the girls and teach them the sport. So it's kind of a mixture, but we've definitely seen girls being very enthusiastic. I know in talking to some, they're having 90 or 100 girls try out, which is a lot, obviously. So they're having to cut down. It's almost like an NFL roster that you're cutting down before the season.
And I know that, when you've got a sport just getting started like that, you really don't want to be in the business of turning kids away.
Right. I think we've got some JV programs, though, that have already popped up. So that's always a great sign for growth of the sport.
Emerging sport invitational tournament this year. How quickly can that become, or how quickly can that reach the next level and actually be a sanctioned championship sport?
Yeah, well, we wrote emerging sport into the bylaws at the same time last year because we just needed a little guidance on how to add new sports. And so the way it was written was that when the staff felt that the growth was enough and that we could put on a state championship, in addition to the board thinking that the growth geographically was enough, that they would consider a state championship. So I am very optimistic that our board will look at that in June and hopefully sanction, well, not sanction, just put on a state championship for 2026 is my hope.
Emily, I'm also curious, as you guys kind of move this process forward, how much growth do you guys have accounted for? Are you guys necessarily prepared if after just one season we see just another massive influx? I'm just kind of curious on the timeline and the rollout process in your mind.
Yeah, I think we just have to look at it like any other sport. If we have a bunch more join, I'm sure there'll be a push to look at classification. Do we divide it by school population, that kind of thing. But from our office perspective, I think we're equipped to handle however many schools want to do it. It's just exciting. The NFHS is working on a rule book that will come out next year. So there'll be some changes to it, but it's just kind of a fun time for us, and we're all learning as we go.
And then I'm seeing 16 districts already kind of drawn up. I'm assuming that was just pretty much geographically put together there. It sounds like there is room to kind of make adjustments on the fly as we continue to kind of grow. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That was us just initially kind of drawing where they are on a map. But yeah, I think as we get more, I could definitely see us having more than one classification.
Emily, I'm trying to pull up those classifications real quick because I've got a question that I think I need to ask you, relative to girls wrestling, where it's not Division I and Division II, it's just girls wrestling. Do you anticipate it being that way for girls flag football as well? Because I don't know. It looks like Silverdale is playing in the Chattanooga area, but I don't know that there are a lot of independent programs playing or set to play girls flag at this point.
We haven't seen that yet. I'm still hopeful some of those private schools will jump on. But yeah, initially I think we'll definitely it will just be one division. They won't be divided public and private, until that becomes necessary.
Okay. All right. How quickly? Well, I mean, I guess I was kind of going in that direction a second ago, but when would you expect maybe for this to actually be a championship sport?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that next spring we have a championship. The challenge right now is we have not defined a season. So part of the emerging sport criteria, we allowed a couple of districts to play in the fall because that worked better for them. So I think our first step is just identifying the season that our membership wants to play in. So we'll probably be surveying all the schools that participated this spring just to get their impact before we present that to the board.
Yeah, I guess the Chattanooga area and the Knoxville area played in the fall. Is that right?
They did. They played a late fall season, like early November into mid-December, and there were some advantages to that. There's definitely pros and cons both ways for those seasons. So I think we have to get a good handle on what our membership wants.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Are you going to be getting out to any games Wednesday, or are you going to wait until it warms up a little bit?
I don't think I'll make it this Wednesday, but I do hope to see a lot this season. So I'm looking forward to see as all these new schools come on. I've over the past few years with the pilot program, I've seen Metro Nashville and Williamson get going, but looking forward to seeing a lot of other counties involved.
Have you had much contact either with the folks in Williamson or in Davidson County as far as them approaching their season and what they've got going on? Again, they've gone to Wednesday games this year. Williamson County had been playing on Sunday afternoon, so they've made that move, and I'm not sure what exactly the thought was behind that.
I think that was in a way an effort to legitimize the sport a little bit more by not forcing them to play on Sunday. I think giving them a school day was part of that. I'm excited that Metro Nashville and Williamson County are playing each other this year. With our pilot programs, everyone kind of stayed in their own county. So this is the first time we're really seeing crossover between counties. So I'm looking forward to see how that goes.
Great. Emily CROWELL of the TSSAA joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, girls flag football here in the Mid-State gets going on Wednesday as Williamson County and Metro Nashville will be playing crossover schedule for the first month or so before they get into district play. Williamson County gets started that first week in April, and I guess Metro will as well. Talk about that postseason tournament. It is scheduled for the second weekend in May, I guess?
It's going to be on a Wednesday, Thursday, just because of availability of facilities. But May 7th and 8th, we're going to have a postseason invitational for girls flag. What that consists of is basically the winner of each district of those 16 districts will advance. The first day we're going to do a pool play kind of situation just to match people up in pools, see how they do, and then that will feed into a single elimination bracket the next day, and we'll have a final championship game there in the stadium at Richard Siegel Park. That will be our invitational championship for this year.
Okay. Sounds good. I think folks around here will be looking forward to that. And be sure and check that out as it progresses. We will have coverage at mainstreetmurray.com and at Main Street Preps, I'm sure. So look out for that. Emily, appreciate your time. I'm sure you're recovering from wrestling this weekend and getting ready for hoops. So in addition to flag football. So appreciate you taking some time with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
Smashville are opponents welcomed with some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. We'll give you a hand, cheer you on. Hey, we'll even leave a light on.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are now into the grab bag as we get ready to close out the show with this final segment. Let's start at the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament over in Greenville, South Carolina. We mentioned Vanderbilt opened the day by eliminating Tennessee 84-76. Well, Oklahoma did the same to Georgia a little bit ago, 70-52. The number 5 seeded Sooners finished off the Lady Bulldogs today. This evening session will include the Egg Bowl, women's basketball style, Mississippi State and Ole Miss in the 5 o'clock matchup, and then Florida and Alabama in the 7:30 finale. So still a lot of women's basketball to be played in the SEC women's tournament as they wrap up day number 2 of the 5-day marathon over there.
Yeah, you said it is a slog to get through that thing. And it feels like we kind of know how it is ultimately going to play out, but there's a lot to be determined between now and then. And kind of sad to see Georgia go, man. You know, I was hoping for a Cinderella story for a team that had struggled all season long, coming in hot at the end of the regular season, and then, you know, knocked off Arkansas in a close one yesterday. But Oklahoma, pretty solid sitting there. And so they win that one by nearly 20.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, Auburn has parted ways with women's basketball coach Johnny Harris after 4 seasons. Auburn was the 14th seed coming into the tournament. They lost to Florida 60-50 yesterday to finish up 12-18 on the year and to go 58-63 in her 4 seasons at the helm in the loveliest village on the plains. So Auburn will be looking for a new women's basketball coach. And, you know, in this climate, I have no idea what direction they would go in, but they'll be looking. So keep an eye open for that. Also looking for something, the Nashville Predators. We got word yesterday that they have sent Tommy Novak and Luke Shen to Pittsburgh in exchange for forward Michael Bunting and a pick in the 2026 draft. That's their second move in less than a week ahead of the trade deadline tomorrow. I don't know if there's more to be expected or not, but we do have Ann Kimmel set to join us tomorrow to kind of discuss it. So,
yeah, get an update. This is the fascinating part for the Preds because, you know, they make so much of a splash in the offseason, kind of ramping up the expectations, but obviously we know what they've done thus far. And now you kind of have some real, I don't know anything about contracts and don't know what their long-term plans are, but you know, they've got some interesting decisions because we thought we were kind of in a rebuild. So do you go kind of continue that process, or do you try and stockpile more picks? Do you try and, you know, just get what you can for now, sell to the highest bidder? They're kind of an interesting team. Perhaps some of the more interesting and stuff that we've seen out of Bridgestone Arena this season. But yeah, it'll be fun to talk with Ann. She'll break it down for us. She'll have a much better idea, I think.
Without question. Already they had sent Gus Nyquist to Minnesota earlier this week, paying half of his salary. They will continue to pay $1.6 million as part of that swap. They sent him to the Wild in exchange for another 2026 pick, a second rounder. They got a fourth rounder for Novak and Shen. So are they offloading at this point? That's I mean, it you can see why it would be the case maybe if they are, just because again, they're not going anywhere this year. So, you know, maybe this is the start of a teardown.
That's what the part that I'm curious about is how far into the future are you talking about building toward? Are you talking about, all right, let's just maybe go ahead and get us back and settle and reboot and kind of be competitive next year? Or are you talking, hey, this is still a longer term build? So that's the part that I'm fascinated by. We'll get kind of a glimpse into the future, even though we still got a little bit more of this regular season. We'll get a little bit more into the future plans of this franchise, it feels like, tomorrow.
Yeah. The Preds are making in-season moves. Some NFL teams are making some off-season moves. We didn't talk about this. Saquon Barkley becomes the first $20 million running back. The Eagles extended him for 2 years at 41.2. And, you know, if anybody deserves it, it was him. Rushed for 2,005 yards, 13 touchdowns in the regular season, 7 touchdown runs of 60 yards or more. That includes the playoffs. That is an NFL record for a single season, and no one else had more than 4. Had 3 touchdown runs of 60-plus yards in the postseason, something no one else had accomplished in their entire playoff career. He did it in one postseason. Finished up with 2,504 rushing yards, counting playoffs, 2,857 yards from scrimmage. And he is one of 3 running backs, to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and a Super Bowl. The other 2, you might know them, Marcus Allen and Marshall Faulk.
Good company to be keeping.
If you're going to keep some company, that's pretty solid. So Philadelphia decided, you know what? We kind of like this guy. We're gonna show him. Again, 41.2 for the 2 years extension. So
good move for the Eagles, it feels like, and kind of like Derrick Henry. We mentioned it multiple times this season. If Saquon Barkley had stayed in New York this season, we're not having any of these conversations, just like we talked about with King Henry up in Baltimore this year. So he's being paid kind of for what he's done. He is, you know, a lot of other franchises either couldn't afford or it just didn't fit their parameters, but he is worth that to that team and that franchise. We saw that this year, and props to Barkley. He sews up a massive payday just a couple years shy of turning 30. So you always want to lock it in. That seems kind of to be the real cutoff point for these big contracts outside of Henry. who's 31. But other than that, the clock starts ticking. So good for him to secure one last big bag here.
I think you really said it well just now. He is worth that to that team.
Mm-hmm. Same with McCaffrey and the 49ers, right? You know, he's valuable to a lot of teams, but McCaffrey, Barkley, and Henry feel like, man, they really, really thrive on their current teams. And if you put them somewhere else, yeah, you're still going to get some great production because these are great guys we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know that it's going to be the same. And kind of you have to evaluate their contract accordingly, I think.
Right. Apparently, the Raiders feel like Max Crosby is worth 3 years, $106.5 million to them, because that's what they just gave him. $91.5 million guaranteed. He is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history at 35.5 AAV. More than Justin Jefferson's 35, more than Nick Bosa's 34. I just don't know that I ever would have expected to see a defensive end command that kind of salary. Congratulations to him. Not saying he's not worth it, but that's a lot.
Well, I kind of mentioned it on the show yesterday during an odd tangent I went on there, but every time everybody's up for negotiation, we're going to get, you know, this number will eventually get eclipsed, maybe sooner than later. Now, you know, one guy in particular, I know he's kind of been forgotten about because he missed so many games with injury, but Aiden Hutchinson is looking at this contract and he's thinking, I can't wait for my payday. He's got a potential deal if they want to extend him this season, or they could wait. Detroit could for next year. So this is kind of just pay for Crosby, but also, yeah, some other folks across the league are like, okay, I'm glad you did that because now I can go out and get more when my deal is up.
Well, and funny you should say that because
hey, real quick, Max Crosby, 2-star recruit coming out of high school, which is bonkers to think about.
Kids, don't worry about them stars. Just go play. That's what Wade was saying, right, Wade?
Texas high school football 2-star to Eastern Michigan to the highest contract we've seen.
Wow. Meanwhile, Cincinnati saw that and threw their hand in and said, we fold. Trey Hendrickson has been given permission to seek a trade. 17.5 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. He was one of the 3 guys that they were really trying to figure out what to do with as they entered free agency, along with receivers T. Higgins, who has been franchise tagged, and Jamar Chase. So look for Trey Hendrickson to show up at a team near you, apparently, because he will be leaving Cincinnati, it sounds like. 4-time Pro Bowler, first team AP All-Pro this past year, second in AP Defensive Player of the Year voting. So somebody's going to pay him. I don't know if they're going to pay him what they paid Crosby, but somebody's going to pay him.
And it won't be Cincinnati, who continues to cement their reputation as one of the cheapest franchises in the history of the NFL. And it's going to be interesting. I was listening to a podcast on the drive home from the game last night, and man, the Bengals, they're kind of going things a little backwards. They got Burrow, who's going to be up for an even bigger deal soon. And then they obviously going to make a run at Chase. You got Higgins kind of potentially in the fold. They're tying up a ton of money in the quarterback 1-2 wide receiver position. And they're kind of forgetting about a lot of things else. Maybe that moving Hendrickson is going to let them get creative. It's not the most conventional approach. It certainly is an approach, but man, they're putting a lot of stock in 2 key positions and 3 total players.
And especially given, Joe Burrow's propensity to not necessarily be there. So, I mean, when he is there, he's fantastic, but he's been banged up a little bit, has he not?
Been banged up, I mean, he was dynamite down the stretch, and Cincinnati nearly made that crazy run to get into the postseason. But yes, when he's not there, there's a dramatic drop off, and he has missed his fair share of games. I mean, that will be an interesting contract discussion when that comes up. And it feels like Burrow, I don't know, it just feels like he's self-aware enough that he wouldn't necessarily have any problems.
Mm-hmm.
He might love Cincinnati, but he wouldn't necessarily have any problems kind of playing that out publicly and kind of forcing the Bengals' hand if that's where it ends up being.
Yeah. Meanwhile, as the Jacksonville Jaguars try to get their best version of Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have to do it without Christian Kirk because they just moved him to Houston earlier today, effective when the new league year begins on Tuesday. Jacksonville had been expected to release Kirk, who will be going into the final year of a 4-year, $72 million deal that he signed back in 22. But instead, they traded him for a 7th-round pick in 2026 that originally belonged to the Rams. So Christian Kirk for a 7th-rounder.
Try and get a little value, I guess, for somebody that either didn't want to be there or the franchise didn't want him there. So, I mean, it on paper does not seem like a fair deal, but maybe that's the best you could get.
Yeah, I guess. Meanwhile, some other guys that are expected to be released once the new league year begins next week. Seattle received. I don't know who Seattle's going to throw the ball to because Lockett, whose first name escapes me.
Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett. That's what I thought. Tyler Lockett. The Seahawks are expected to release him. The Chargers are likely going to release Joey Bosa. Vegas is expected to move on from Gardner Minshew, in addition to the Kirk move. So a lot of, name players going to be available, looks like, over this offseason.
Yeah, and we just talked about DK Metcalf, getting ready to be on the move from Seattle as well. So you're right. Not sure who Geno is going to potentially be dishing it off to, but it's going to be interesting. And Tyler Lockett was their longest tenured player. And you mentioned Bosa. I found this one wild too. This is right up your alley, Mo. He was the last player that was still a part of the San Diego Chargers. So that connection is officially gone.
Nobody in that locker room will be making that mistake anymore, huh?
No, he was the last holdout there.
From the college ranks, speaking of extensions, Oregon's Dan Lanning has now restructured his deal. He has a 6-year contract averaging $11 million running through 2030, fully guaranteed. He is one of 8 guys making 8 figures now. Kirby Smart and Dabo Sweeney, the only other 2 earning 11 plus. So now Lanning is 35-6 since taking over at Oregon. So maybe he's worth it.
Had a heck of a run this year. Here's a wild stat for you. I meant to bring this up to you the other day. The Big Ten, this is from our friend Brian Fisher, friend of the show. The Big Ten has handed out 15 regular season or tournament championships thus far. And the West Coast schools, Oregon, USC, UCLA, have already won almost half of them. Oregon's won 4, USC's won 2, including that regular season title for Juju and company, and UCLA's won 1. The West Coast is thriving in the new Big Ten.
Wow. Washington's saying, hey, what about us? But yeah, get on their level, Huskies. Come on now. Finally, a couple of spring training notes. Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals, who has been up and back between there and Memphis for the past couple of years, trying to establish himself at the major league level, stepped on a sprinkler head in the outfield while chasing a fly ball against the Nationals at the Nationals spring training field, tweaked a knee, out for a week. And again, for a young guy trying to kind of get his footing at the major league level to some degree through no fault of his own, this isn't good. But hopefully he'll get back and be able to make an impact for St. Louis here as the year goes. That's going to do it. Time got up on me. That's going to do it for the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and check us out tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock. We'll be joined by Chris Lowe of ESPN and Ann Kimmel talking a little Nashville Predators hockey. We'll see y'all then.